I was born in Price, Utah, and I wasn't born until January 7th, and I was the first baby of the new year. And my mom got a case of sago milk. I kept thinking, in a little while it'll be over. I am 78 now. They thought and hoped I would be a boy, so I was going to be named George Henry. So both grandpas. So by the time they get the girl, she didn't have any names. And her neighbor lady brought a blanket over that she had made and personally embroidered the word darling. And Mom said, I know what I'm going to name this baby girl, Darlene. When I was born, I had an older sister, Joan, 2 years older, and she always protected me. Our family was my grandma and grandpa, and they had 2 children, John, which is my dad, and Sue is their other daughter, which is my aunt. And they were both married, and so Sue had Lee was her husband, and Velma was my mom, Daddy's wife. 3 months later, I had a cousin, Aunt Sue had a baby girl, and her name's Cheryl, and we were close. The 3 of us were really close little cousins, and so my grandma and grandpa lived in Missouri with John and Sue, and they decided to move to Ogden. But in those days, you just moved a little bit by little bit, and so each town they'd stop in, they would work and get enough money to move on to the next town. And so that's why we all were born in different places. So we got to Schroeder, they got to Schroeder, and my dad and Aunt Sue went to Schroeder High School. And then they moved to Price.
Holy cow.
And that's where I was born.
Okay.
Then we moved to Salt Lake, and that's where Cheryl was born. So we moved often, trying to get to Ogden. There must have been construction work here because Grandpa built homes, his dad built homes. So I say I come from 5 generations of home builders.
Wow.
So that's why I get so proud that Cameron and Boston are home builders too.
That is
and
cool.
Greg, electrician.
Yep.
Grandpa was so good to us.
Yeah.
He just loved us a lot. And Grandma really adored Joanne because I was whiny and I guess I didn't act like I liked her. My mother was an orphan. Her mother died when she was 2, and then her dad died at 17, and so then Mom lived in Oklahoma with her twin sister. Mom had a blind date with somebody named John C., and they got married. I was a mama's girl, and Daddy was a shy daddy.
Okay.
There was no loving on us,
It was very...
hugging. It was just like, whatever you say. And he would say to Mom, I don't want to cross those girls or they'll ball. Daddy went to the war. And he had to be drafted because he had 2 little girls and he wasn't about to leave unless they asked him to. And so he got sent to Italy for a year and he did bookwork. They kept him safe because he had children. But I wouldn't talk to Daddy when he came home. I remember him walking up Norden Avenue. We lived on Kearney with his duffel bag. And he would sit at night with me in a rocking chair and say, just say Daddy. Just say Daddy. And we lived in the terrace at the time. And there were little Quonset huts, I call them.
Yeah.
The walls seemed like they were made of thick paper. We only were there a year and a half, but we went to school. The people in the next house that was hooked was our friends Mary and Barbara, and the mom and dad were Margaret and Frank, and I'll tell you about them later, but Mary and Barbara and Joanne and I are still close. The thing about our house on Raymond, when Daddy had Builder's Payless, I would come home from school with books in my arms, and we didn't have a doorknob on our back door. And he owned Builder's Payless that had doorknobs. And I would just scoot it with my hips. And the door would open. I don't know how many years we were without a doorknob. Then we moved to South Ogden on Raymond Avenue. and I won't get too detailed with that, but my dad opened his store, and to me it seemed like the very first Home Depot.
Okay.
It was called Builder's Payless, and he had everybody and everything there in that store could build a home. My mom stayed at home.
Okay.
He bought, while we were in the terrace, he bought her a sewing machine, a Kenmore, and she would make dresses for us. Almost weekly at least.
Yeah.
We'd come home and she'd have it all laying out on the couch, the little dress that she'd made us.
If you had one attribute to name that your mom had, what would it be?
Kind.
Kind. What about your dad?
He persevered. I asked Daddy to bring home some lumber to make me some stilts, and they were the tallest in the neighborhood, and I could sit on my roof with the stilts, and I did a good job. We walked a lot, and we walked around the neighborhood and down to South Ogden Park, and in the summer Mr. Pitcher had trampolines, and his wife had all kinds of crafts to do, and in the winter the firemen would spray the lawn in the South Ogden Park enough to where we had a lot of ice, and we'd ice skate. We had a lot of slumber parties, my friends and I. There were about 18 of us, and we continued on for a lot of years, going on trips or just even getting together for dinner. But those 18 of us there was a time where we called ourselves the Happums because we had a party every month.
What was a childhood dream of yours?
To be a nurse.
Nurse?
Yeah. And when I say that, I think, oh, I know what it was.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be a mom.
Yeah.
I wanted to take care of children. I loved dolls. I played dolls. My girls gave me a doll for Christmas one year.
Yes.
I love dolls.
Yes.
I still do.
Yes.
Hi, Cameron. My grandson, I love you so much. Yes, grandmother. He calls me grandmother.
What's up?
We are talking about...
You're doing your video, I got you.
Yeah, we're talking about... She's picking my brain. I met Gary when I was in the 5th grade. He just moved here from Ogden and came to South Ogden. And I don't know how we found out so quickly that his birthday was on my birthday. And he was so cute. We all loved Gary. It was so fun. We all played instruments in the band.
Yeah.
And then when it came time to walk home, I don't know why we did this. But Gary and I would hold hands, and we were the mom and dad, and all the rest of the kids were our kids. And we just played that way all the way home. It was mutual one night,
Okay.
and we were in a row of chairs, and I was in the front and Gary's in the back, and he kept pulling the chair back. And I guess that was flirting. It was our birthday, and we were at my mom and dad's, and we kept talking about getting married. And Mom said, listen, you guys have got to let us know when you're going to get married. And so we got a calendar and sat there on the couch. We needed to have it during a spring break because he is in college. So we just picked March 11th. That was a Friday.
Okay.
Yeah. My mom and I bought my stuff for the wedding dress, the material. We went to the lady that had sewn a few things for us.
Okay.
And all in all, my dress cost $25.
What?
We were married at what you guys call the BYU Center, and it was on 24th Street.
Okay.
My maid of honor was Joan, and then my bridesmaids was this Gail friend, and Cheryl, my cousin, and then Gary had 4 sisters. So I had Sue and Maisie, and then the other 2 were little.
Okay.
One was 2.5, which is Patty, and one was 4.5, which is Pam. And they were little flower girls. We went to Disneyland.
Oh. That is the best.
And we drove before, like a month, maybe a month before, my cousin and her husband, Cheryl and Ron, were living in a trailer house that they'd got from this person that remodeled them when they were broke. And Ron told Gary, come out and see this one, it's really nice. So we did. We went out and liked it, and it needed a little fixing up, and he did it, and we paid him. I had $300 savings in my, because I never spent money.
Yeah, you were the saver.
I was a saver. I had $300, and so we bought that trailer.
Yeah.
And they moved it to a brand new trailer park out on Wall, about 1000 Wall. And we had it all set up so that when we got back home, that's where we would live.
What do you love most about your sweetheart?
Oh, Gary is kind and gentle. If you see gentleness in any of our children, they got it from him. Oh, he was cute.
And he was cute.
You know what? Isn't that what you have to find?
Oh, yeah.
If they gotta be cute,
Yes.
then you find out all the good stuff.
Where was your first job?
Babcock's, and it's right next to the Country Club Theater. When you first walked in, it had plants and little doodahs, and his sister, her name wasn't Babcock then because she was married, but I don't remember her name, but she had plants and stuff. And downstairs was the men's department, and upstairs was the ladies' department where I was, and I enjoyed it.
What's your favorite characteristic about each of your children?
Well, Greg, I always called him, he's as close to being Jesus as anybody. He's kind. He wouldn't ever say a bad thing about anybody. He never got ruffled. And as he got a little older in his teenage years, he really got to be funny, a dry wit, and everybody noticed it, and we just enjoyed him.
I can see that. Yeah.
John, when we brought John to our family, we said he brought loads of laughter. Oh my gosh. He was very hard to hold because he was so wiggly. I was the only one that could hold him because we had two. And somebody else would hold Joan because he'd jump right out of your arms. He had so much energy. And he would eat until it run out of his mouth. And he was a spitter.
How fun.
So he just brought joy and laughter. And by the time he was 2, he was teaching Greg tricks. They would get on the lounge chair, pull it back, and then roll, and then pop up, and run around, and I mean, just funny. Joan.
Yeah, Joan.
Because she was a warrior.
Yep, warrior.
Like, oh! And one of the things she worried about, this was when she got a little older, like elementary, are you going to curl my hair for church tomorrow? There wasn't much work in the fall, and we had to move to Texas. And Greg was 3.5. And we moved to Texas, and we had wanted a baby because we had lost a baby in the spring. And I was so sad, and my sister said, Jesus will make it up to you. I said, okay, thinking, okay, I'll get another baby someday. Yeah. And so when we get to Texas, I had my first experience with putting Greg in a preschool, a daycare center, and I went to work at a restaurant. And a short time after, I realized I was pregnant. And I told them, and they said, because I thought I could just keep working. Yeah. Although I didn't feel good. Smell that sausage in the morning. Ugh.
Yeah.
She said, you know what, you can't work here anymore because we don't have insurance. I thought, well, okay. So I went home, and it was kind of nice because I was really sick. We always wanted to come back to Ogden. We didn't have any idea that we'd want to stay. It was just work. As soon as we got work here, we'd come back. Well, the doctor said it was getting too late for me to come back. I couldn't fly. But he said you could take the train because Gary still was working there in Texas. So I got a train ticket for Greg and I, and we rode the train through the night. I don't think I was due till sometime in June.
Later. Mm-hmm.
And so he said, "You're just getting so big. Why don't we start you tomorrow? Because the next day I've got a golf tournament." I said, "It's okay with me."
Yeah.
So I ran home and I did my Aunt Marie's hair and my mother's hair because I wore it in a big twist. And I mopped and waxed the bathroom floor and the kitchen floor. I mean, I was this big. I was so big you could see my ribs back here.
Yes.
Because it's just pulling, and I had this girdle holding my belly up. So I thought, well, we'll see. And we get to the hospital, and they put the little pit thing on at 4 o'clock. And at 6 o'clock, the doctor came in, and he said, "I told you to turn that up to something, something." He got mad at the nurses, and he turned it up, and it was like, whoa! No epidural, and those babies were here at 7:02 and 7:11. So I've got the baby boy, and he's 7 pounds, and I'm thinking, I said to the doctor, "Oh my gosh, I was so big, and he's only 7, and I'd had Greg, it was 9 pounds. And he said, "Well, you know what? You got to lay back down, because maybe there's another baby. We're not sure." I had to push so hard. I thought the head was going to burst. I get an 8-pound baby girl. My mom was a twin. She'd wanted a set of twins with every one of our births.
Yeah.
Joan had 2 and I'd had Greg. She thought, "Oh, we'll be twins, we'll be twins."
Oh.
So Mom and her sister Aunt Marie were out in the hallway. And the nurse says, "I'll go tell your husband." And I said, "Will you please let me tell him?" Well, okay. So he comes in and he thinks we're teasing. He thinks we've got some baby from the other nursery. And I was like, "We're not teasing." So Mom remembers him running down the hall like this. 2 babies. I mean, it was really. You want to know what my first thoughts were?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Made it.
She said, "He will make it up to you." And he did. Got 2 of them. And Greg once said, "My mom had 2 babies and they didn't get me one. One was for my dad and one was for my mom, and they didn't get me one." Jill. Everybody says she was born our star. The funnest story. So Joan being a worrier, they all knew I was going to have, well, let's see. Yeah, I told him in the kitchen one day, "Okay, Mom's going to have a baby." And they were going, "What?" Joan and John were 10 and Greg was 14. But we just had to have one more baby. I knew she was waiting for us.
Yeah.
So we're sitting on the bed I was on the bed, and her cousin were sitting on the floor, and the bed started rocking, and I said, "Girls, I'm trying to polish my fingernails." And they said, "We aren't doing anything." We'd had an earthquake. Then we knew. And she was so afraid of, guess what? All those baby presents would get ruined.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Of all things.
So I go, the next, John and Joan are having a field day, and they needed cake. So we got those baked.
Okay.
And I did a Cub Scout thing that day. We picked up garbage from gutters. And that night when I went to bed, it was like, uh-oh. Well, because she's a month late.
Wow.
Yeah, she's supposed to be born April 4th.
Wow.
And so I knew the next morning. So I got the kids ready, and I said, "Daddy will come and tell you at school when we get the baby." So Gary drops me off at the hospital because he's just starting to work on the D Event Center. So he had to go check things. It's a baby girl. He goes to the school, and gets Joan out of class, and he says, "So, your mom had the baby." Her dad said, "It's not a boy." And Joan said, "What was it?" He had to say, "It's a baby girl." He got her baby girl. Yes. And you know what? That really made everybody happy.
Everyone happy. Yep,
Joan could
was
have
happy.
that baby girl.
What makes you happy?
Oh, I just am happy. It's my nature. My mom was so cute when she would tuck us in bed at night because we always slept together, and she called us the girls. I think it was girls. Sometimes I think she called us sisters, but maybe Daddy called us sisters. But she'd say, girls, whatever you do, you be nice. You be the nice one. No matter what's happening, you be the nice one. I enjoy being around children.
Yes.
I think I enjoyed sewing. I do enjoy cleaning, making things look pretty. I don't need a lot of stuff. I guess I'm called a minimalist, but I do love to make it look pretty, and I enjoy doing that.
Yes.
I love vegetables and healthy foods. I do love the gym. I go to the gym 5 days a week. I think it's good for my body.
Yep.
That will keep me healthy,
Yeah.
along with eating healthy.
What's one word or motto you've tried to live by?
Nice. Always be nice. And there's never a reason not to be nice. It's something like that. My mom said so many funny things. If you go in one door and out the other, you're just going in circles all day.
There you go.
And you don't put your shoes on the table, or somebody in your family will die.
Oh.
Well, I did work at the racket club for a few years, and as a result, it was a family job because everybody got to work out there. Even Jill.
Okay.
She just hung around. She was only 3. The reason I worked out there is because we moved to Porter Avenue from our old house. And she seen a lot of her friends going to daycare, not daycare, preschool. She wanted to have a backpack and go to preschool. And so my friend that worked at the racket club said, you could work a couple hours in the morning for me, and then I don't have to be to work so early. So that's what I did. And I dropped Jill off at Children's World, and she loved it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So that's how it started. So I worked at the
Racket
there
club.
for a while. And then I wanted to be more home. I just really did. Getting Jill in school, and she's going to be in kindergarten. I just wanted to be home. And so I was home. Gary took me for a ride one day and drove me up into the parking lot of what used to be called the Haynes House. It was a wedding center. And he said, I just leased this building for you. You're going to have a child care center here. I had no idea how you do a child care.
Yeah.
He said, well, I'll take care of the books. You don't have to worry about that. You just go do what you do.
Kids. Yep.
And so all of us, the whole family, worked on getting it ready. We started out with like 13 kids. Within a couple of weeks, we had 20, 25 kids. By October, I was so full, I couldn't take any more. And all I did was be a mom. Just what I did.
Yeah.
They'd go to lunch.
Yeah.
And there was a lunch table, and they would just sit there and eat. It was, the parents would say, how do you get them to eat? How do you get them to eat their green beans?
Yeah.
When children are all together and it's
Do the same.
pleasant surroundings, they're
They
calm and
behave.
they eat,
Yeah.
you know. And so then, after they would eat, they would run around this corner and up the stairs to the bathroom. They'd go to the bathroom, wash their hands,
Yeah.
come out, and then there were like 4 steps down to where all their mats were. And they'd just run. Some of them would jump off the stairs and jump on their mat. We didn't have to say, you have to lay down on your mat and you have to go to sleep. But if they did go to sleep, when they woke up, there'd be a gummy bear on their back. We started having people come in that we couldn't take, and we had a waiting list. And so Gary and I decided we needed to open another one.
Yeah.
And on Adams Avenue, there used to be a swimming pool. And it was a cute little place. And so Gary went down and bought that. And we filled the swimming pool in with gravel and cement.
Okay.
And opened that one, maybe not too many years after, maybe 3 years after. We decided we better have another one. And there was one available in Layton.
Okay.
So Gary and John went out there and worked for several months getting that one ready.
That's the
And
one
that
with
was
Joan.
called Layton Children's Center. And Joan was really working hard to be the director.
Yeah.
to get a diploma. Now, you know, she owns it. It's
So
hers.
Cool.
And it's just grandeur for her. When she was in the 5th grade, the schools made a new rule that you didn't have to wear dresses. You could wear pants. She cried. I said, honey, you don't have to wear pants. Gradually, she learned how to wear pants. And I had to make them because she was this wide, but this long. So I made her pants. She tries so hard. She is so diligent. When she wants something, she does it, and she does it well. Okay? So she wanted to be a lakeette. And I didn't remember that she had tried out when she was a sophomore and didn't make it. And so her friends adored her so much. Everybody loves Joan. There's nobody that doesn't love Joan. Right?
Yes. Oh, every time. I'm Joan Sutter. Oh, I love Joan.
Everybody loves Joan. She is lovable because she is real and kind. On top of that, she is adorable.
Yes. She is.
One of the cards she gave me one time, she wrote, I'm so glad I have your genes.
Oh.
And I was like, that's a compliment
That is
because
a
I
compliment,
think you're really cute. So she tried out again the next year, and her friends that were lakeettes helped her and worked with her. So the whole auditorium was full of people the day that they announced it. And John was there too. Oh my gosh. When they said her name, we were so excited. And John made a mad dash for her. And the gym floor was covered with people, happy and happy. And I could see those two hugging. And she loved children. She loved baby dolls. Her and Jill, they loved baby dolls. They loved them like they were real. Joan put them to bed at night. And at Christmas, it was their birthday because that's when they got them. She met this boy called Jay. She had a lot of dates, you know. She was pretty and went to the dances and stuff like that. But she met him at Rax, and he kept coming in a lot. I guess that's when they started dating. And they were just really in love. Really. They just rounded each other out. She's my butterfly, and Jill's my bumblebee. I look at Joan, and she's just a butterfly. She just, everything's gentle and so adorable, and yet she's got that humor in her, you know. But Joan now, as we are all adults, Joan always knows what I like. She has that second sense, and she knows what I like. She sees and knows my feelings, and I just think that's beautiful. But when she got Lydia, that baby girl, she has said so many precious things to me. The day she got to hold Lydia and watch, what was the movie? Beauty and the Beast?
Yes.
Just tears were just... And you know, Joan doesn't bawl like I do over emotions.
Yes.
And she did. She said, oh my gosh. It's just
Yes.
overwhelming.
Yes. She's got her girl.
Then the day she said, Lydia's just made my whole life. The 3 little boys were there. They went, thanks, Mom. I love her. I love you, Joan. Our 4 children are the blessing of our lives. And they love each other. I don't think a mother would want anything more.